किताब तो अपना तरीका बताएगा जो कि which is a given. But when you write, you'll find your own way of dealing with things. You'll find your own way of creating a character. You'll find your own way of creating a scene. And that will become your individual signature. Why should you write like somebody else? You should write like you. And the process, you will figure out your own process as you go along. But the only thing is finish it. Even if you're writing 3 scripts, and even if it takes 3 years, but by the end of 3 years, you finish all three. आधे में छोड़ के मत भाग जाइए, पूरा खत्म कर लीजिए, फिर पढ़ के बोल दीजिए चलिए कचरा. But with that effort will help you in the next script. Next time you write, you would have gone through all the problems. That is important.
How did you kind of bring this entire thought of existentialism to a character like Mehboob?
The idea was always existential. So that's how you begin. Then you have to find a way of making a plot around it. So I think in a case like this, the idea comes first and then the plot. I'll tell you, I had written a draft of this a few years before I actually did it, in which what happens is RKay was again a filmmaker and the theatre director. And one day he's home and he's making a new film and he's not happy with it. And one day there's a sound from the other room and there's a sound of glass crashing and he doesn't know what it is. And they go to the other room, the wife and RK, and they see that the mirror is broken. Okay, nothing special. And then he realizes later that his reflection has disappeared. He does not have a reflection anymore. And that causes anxiety and there's a loss. And he doesn't know what that loss is. What exactly has gone when the reflection is gone. And then in that story, the reflection appears in his life and slowly takes over his life. So yeah, it was a pretty similar idea in a way, at least in terms of the existential idea behind it, but done differently. But somehow that script didn't come together in some way. And then over the years, it metamorphosed into RKay, where it is Mehboob now who is run away and not the reflection.
It's actually very interesting, the whole mirror thing. And that also brings me to ask you, like, whenever we have stories within stories, it becomes quite interesting and yet a little difficult to follow even as an audience. So as the person behind the scenes, what were some challenges when you bring such things alive as an actor and especially as a director?
I think a lot of work is done already at the script level because you're aware of these questions that will arise in the mind of the audience as they're watching it, right? And you're dealing with that as you're writing it. You're trying to tell a story in a way, given the how absurd the premise is. So you make every effort to make it easy to take as you're watching it. So the scenes have to make sense, even though the premise is absurd. So it's a weird idea that they should go to a police station to report a missing person.
Right.
But then it had to be played real enough in that they would actually go to a police station. Of course, they won't. If your character runs out, you will not go to a police station, whatever else you do. But it was, in a way, a case of a missing person. That absurdity as plausible, then I think it becomes plausible to the audience also, and they accept then the absurdity of the universe that you're creating, and then they go along.
In the beginning, that police station scene for me also was like, I was completely taken aback. Okay, now we're getting to it, and we're letting everybody know and getting
Or
all the characters.
even when they go to the film lab before that, and the producer is shouting at the lab assistant that how did he? It's your responsibility. 6 फुट का आदमी गायब कैसे हो गया?
Absolutely, हाँ. तो वो that part like made me chuckle quite a lot. कि okay, even the producer is now blaming कि you have to go and get him. But I really wanted to ask you, like, how come the film isn't available on these like Netflix Prime or something? And
Because this is the world we live in. Nobody wants it. Can you fucking believe it? I mean, I'm very proud of the film, and I think it's a good film, but they just don't want it. They don't want to. Yeah, really, heartbreak is correct. It's depressing, because when you release it in a theater, there's hardly any shows, and nobody, even your friends can't go and watch it because the shows are so bad, and it is there for a week and a half maybe, and then it goes, and then you're hoping, okay, it'll reach an audience. Uh, when it comes to the OTT platform, but no OTT platform is willing to take it. I'm as surprised and shocked and disappointed as anybody.
I wanted to ask you more in general about your interest in existentialism, because I feel there's a that's a lot I saw even in Aankhon Dekhi, which is one of my favorite films, and it continues it in its very unique way in RKay as well. So, where did it start? Your understanding of existentialism? How are you trying to explore it? What interests you about it?
I don't know where it started and why it started. I have no idea, or why I'm interested in this. But now that I've made a few films, I can look back and see that there is a tendency. Actually, Mithya is not very far from it. Closest to RKay in terms of his ideas is actually Mithya, where an actor takes the place of a gangster, and then halfway through the film he loses his memory, and then he actually becomes a gangster. And when they tell him that you're not this guy, he doesn't know anymore who he is. You know. So this idea of identity, and again to an extent in Fatso, which is not a very successful film, its entirety, but where the soul of the dead hero enters a fat man's body, and now he has to struggle with who he is. So this idea of who you are is kind of a recurring theme. And then again, I think to an extent in the new film that we have made, Everybody Loves Suravanta, yeah, it resurfaces in that again. So the idea of identity has been with me for a while.
Any influences in those directions, like any other existential
Who knows, yeah? Who knows? I'm 60 years old, so I don't know.
mindset?
I don't know what influences were there, and what has made you who you are today. So influences, maybe from the absurd theater that I started with. Maybe I don't know. There's no direct influence like that, but maybe it's that. Maybe it's Milan Kundera. Maybe it's Dostoevsky. Those influences they don't point in any particular direction, but they give you a certain bend of mind, maybe, you know,
Correct.
and then you discover on your own who you are and what your expression is.
Basically, the ending is just like coming around a circle entirely of how the character is still there in the real life and not going back, but lovely with the whole aspect of just the Red Sox, right? So, how did you come across the entirety of that circling back to the whole point? Like, why did you do that? Is my interesting
So
question.
it's the perfect ending. It's the perfect ending. RK is not very happy with his life. Nobody cares for him, and he's in love with Gulabo. So he goes into the film. The
Correct.
producers are not willing to let the hero die, but RK is kind of ready to die for his film. So he goes into the film, and Mehboob, who is more and more loving the real world, so to speak, and he's charming enough for Seema and the kids. Says, yeah, it's happy ending.
Right. So, just to make like a happy ending and something like that. That's all.
Well, not really. There's also the question of, what is interesting to me, that who has made this film?
Correct.
Is it RK or Mehboob or Rajat?
Mm. Correct. Correct. Because like leaving the audience with the whole thought of that, where did you notice it at the end of it?
Yeah.
If you would have, you know. If you didn't, you didn't.
When Mehboob first comes um, out of the reel, right, into the real world, he sits into the car, and then he suddenly comes out. Because I think in films we have seen that after a cut,
Exactly.
the person generally goes to the next scene. I think it was so beautiful. It was 2 seconds, and I stopped that thing, and I was like, why Rajat sir has done this thing? And I was like, he was making a film inside a film, and he wants to show how a human will think and how a character will think. Then he suddenly goes out of that car. It was so beautiful. I mean, one of the most favorite or underrated scenes of how RK was actually realizing the fact that he's into the real world, but he's not. So that was one thing. I mean, if it is correct, you can, yeah. And one scene that I really want to understand, because there are a lot of other analogies that has happened for other scenes, pretty good. I mean, even Siddhant has talked about that whole closure thing. Can you take us through the first scene where RK is going to multiple doors? I
Yeah.
mean, there are a lot of it. Yeah.
When you ask me which is the question that has been asked the most, and this is that question. Uh,
This
what
this
is that? What is that guy coming in and out of doors? Well, it's a nightmare. It's a recurring nightmare for RK. And some I will tell you what I had in mind, but sometimes it is not to know. It's good not to know uh, what exactly the image is, because I'll see something. An image is beyond words. That's why if it's a powerful image, it's powerful because everything can't be described about it, because it does impacts you in some other way. Uh, so if I was to tell you it's a nightmare, Ani Khatam. If I was to tell you,
yeah,
okay, RK is going through a inner split in a way, so maybe Mehboob never ran out. Maybe it is all RK's in inner turmoil. So there's a possibility of reading the film in those terms that uh,
yeah,
this is he is piecing himself together in a way. You know what I'm saying? There are many people inside him, and he's trying to find a balance within.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, truly, that was because after that, the film actually starts and you
right.
are in the premise. But
Yeah.
that one particular scene kind of stays with you because after that, Mehboob takes a time to actually come on screen because
Yeah.
it's the director only, and then you suddenly don't realize.
I'll tell you,
Uh,
when my wife, she's my toughest critic. She's also the production designer of this film and many other films. So normally when she reads my script, she says it's rubbish. Uh, when she read this one, she said the first scene is great. The last scene is very good. It's just the 85 pages in between which are not so good. Uh, so even she liked this scene, I'm telling
it's a it's a it's a great scene. I mean,
you.
just to
It is
be
good.
with the film, it's a great scene.
Have you received any like really crazy theories about somebody's interpretation of the film की like the ones that made you only feel कि इतना तो नहीं सोचा था हमने मतलब जितना आप निकाल रहे हो उसमें से
इस फिल्म में तो सब सोचा था हमने ऐसा कुछ नहीं जो नहीं सोचा था but yeah, you're right, that happens once in a while, that people read too much into an image or into a film, uh, because also what happens, no, I'll tell you, when you shoot, of course you have a very clear idea of what you want, where you want to go, how the scenes will play out. You have a very clear idea, and yet there is a when you're shooting it almost instinctively, you know. You're not planning this will have this meaning. No, you're shooting it because this is the way in your mind it'll work. It's really a gut feeling. You're not following a theory. You're not following uh, you're not even following an idea. You're following your gut, emotional feeling. Emotionally, if it is working or not. That's what you're following. And so, based on that feeling that day on the set, and how the others are feeling around you, that co-actors and cameramen and sound recorders. And based on all of that, you come to a decision, okay, we'll use this lens, we'll put the camera here, maybe we'll move the camera like this and come to the close-up, you know? And you're hoping with fingers crossed that it'll all work. So a lot of it is done instinctively. And of course, when you're sitting now later at the edit, then you realize with these things that you tried, maybe it works, very often doesn't work, but then you still have a chance to make sense of things, you know, to throw things out that didn't work, to enhance things that they worked, and make them work better with sound and everything.
Were there any scenes or subplots that you know you really were passionate about and you really wanted to include, but in the final, cut of it and understanding the overall layout, you kind of removed it?
No, in this, no. But
Oh,
in Aankhon Dekhi, for example, which I think many of you have seen, in Aankhon Dekhi, there were whole chunks that were thrown out because it helped make the film move better. And then those chunks are there in deleted scenes. You can watch them on YouTube. Uh,
right.
and then they were very funny and very good on their own. And we thought, as script writers, that these are things you need to tell the story and to make the story move forward. But when you sit and edit, and after seeing that thing for a month, you say, okay, let me try it without this scene. What happens? And you say,
Right.
oh my God, it's actually flowing better. You know, then you
Hmm.
realize that the ideas in your head are not really the final thing. The final thing is the emotional flow.
What are some specific challenges you face as an Indian artist? Since you have exposure to all kinds of international cinema as well, and you've worked for so many decades now, what are some specific challenges you faced as an Indian trying to make art? Number two, since you have donned so many hats with this project, what is the most exhausting and rewarding um, thing that you find as an actor, as a writer, as an editor, as a director? What is that?
See, my basic job is that of a director. I act once in a while, but that's uh, I don't consider myself an actor. I look at myself, my self image is of a filmmaker, and that is obviously then the most satisfying thing for me. That gives me the greatest pleasure. And of the many things that a director does, uh, each and everything is great joy, whether it's writing or shooting or but editing is the most joy. I look forward to those 4 months in the edit room. Uh, that's the most joy. Even though I love when I'm shooting a film and I love the chaos, but editing is really maybe the most joyous for me. The most difficult, of course, is trying to raise money and trying to release your damn film. These are the two most tiring, painful, depressing, heartbreaking processes. And then that doesn't change. That hasn't changed in the last 25 years for me. Each film is the same struggle to find money and then when you make it, to release it, to take it to an audience. So that's been a constant. But again, I'm not cribbing. I'm not being bitter. I accept it. I understand it. This is the world we live in. This is the market place that we are in. And if you want to do something which is not suitable to the market, this will this is how it's going to be. So I accept it completely. And yet it is hard. Like now I have 4 scripts and I'm hoping to make it. I don't know when. Next year, in 26, in 2030, I don't know. But looking back, I've made now 9 films, which is not a bad deal. It's taken a long time, but I think finally, if you are resilient enough and you have enough perseverance, you will make what you set out to.
I was watching Mithya today, so that I can prepare some question for the interview. So I came across something very very funny actually. There are two scenes which I'm very intrigued of from your filmmaking. The one is that Mithya's tiffin scene, where he's like, I don't want to eat this tiffin anymore. I want an omelette. And the other scene is the Garam Kadai scene from Aankhon Dekhi. There is a free flow of emotions, and both the characters are like, "ये मेरे अगल बगल में क्या हो रहा है?" So, when is that what you've written on paper, or is that what you've decided when you go to the
Both
you
these
know
scenes were written.
uh,
Both of them were written. For Mithya, it was an interesting idea that this guy they have kidnapped and they're training him to become somebody else. So obviously, he realizes at some point that the stakes are very high. I actually have the upper hand. What if I threaten them that I'll shoot myself? Then they'll be fucked. So and he plays with that power. So it was a written scene for him to try that way, uh, his wielding power. Pranay wala scene in Aankhon Dekhi was also written. Most of it is written, but I'll tell you what was not written. For example, in Aankhon Dekhi, what was not written was the seasons. But when we started shooting it in January, and then I realized that we will have Holi in March. I said, my God, we can have all season. So then we decided to start the film in winter, go through Holi and spring, come to summer, and then end the film again in winter. So that was boom like that, not part of the script. Uh, Another thing with RKay, and now it is such a big part of the film that but it was not written. When we were doing a look test for Mehboob, I had a mooch and I had a brown suit, and they gave me black socks. And I said, black socks with brown shoes? Haan, sir, it'll work. And then my eye caught the red socks. And I said, okay, let me try that. And that became Mehboob. And then that became the ending shot of the film, that we come down to the socks, you know. So, yeah, these are things that are not planned, but somehow become part of the film.
The title was very interesting. I just needed to know what what led you to think of this title. What came to your mind to think of this
RKay,
title?
oblique RKay. Like I said earlier, it's like a split within, and that title uh, shows that split quite well.
I also wanted to ask about the music in the film. Like, I'm always very curious, how is that experience? Um, like, what does it look briefing somebody to compose music like that?
I have worked with Sagar Desai a lot. He did music for Mixed Doubles, which was his first film. Mixed Doubles, Mithya, Fatso, Aankhon Dekhi, Kadak, RKay. So yeah, it's 6 films, and he's really really good. I don't want to say genius, because genius is a word which is used very easily these days, but he's very very good. He gets the idea, he gets the soul of the film, and he reacts to it. That's how it normally is. He reacts to it. He comes up with the theme idea, the theme music, and then we keep working on it. And I wanted a song which is like the 60s Mohammed Rafi kind of a song. So that we composed that song for the film, within the film, uh, Meri Jaan. Uh, yeah, you just keep working on it, you know. And again, it takes 3 to 4 months to do the music for a film.
Mm. Okay.
And I'm very happy to work with Sad.
You have been to FTII. So, what are your opinions on this film school, their curriculum, and does it help? Because you have been to one of the best in India. So,
It was great for me. But again, like I said, you know, like everybody has different processes. There are many filmmakers, very good filmmakers, who never went to film school, and they made good films. There are filmmakers from film schools, and they made good films or not good films. So it is what you make out of anything. You know, it's up to you. If you go to a film school and still don't learn anything, that's also possible. You know, or if you don't go to a film school but learn everything in life by practice, by being an assistant, by watching films, by writing films, that's also possible.
is there any film or films that you think everyone should watch? At least the film lovers. It can be of any decade, like 100 years.
All of Chaplin, all of Fellini, especially Eight and a Half.
People that you just mentioned, are there more people who like really influenced your
There are,
interest in
there are,
cinema?
there are like 50 filmmakers, all kinds of filmmakers, from Ozu to Godard to Bresson to Kumar Shani to Ritwik Ghatak, all kinds of filmmakers from all over the world.
Right. And you were exposed to these films and filmmakers because of FTII, or you had some
No,
sort of an influence?
I was a member of Film Society in Delhi before I went to FTI. So when I went to college, I was 16, and they had a film society in front of SRCC, Shriram College of Commerce in Delhi, in Tagore Hall, a film society called Celluloid, run by Pankaj Butalia. And that's where I saw world cinema for the first time. I saw Herzog and Fassbinder and Bergman, and it blew my mind. And those days, there were lots of films at Alliance Francaise or the Bhavan, and we used to go and watch them. And there was a place called Shakuntalam Theatre in Delhi, which also used to show world cinema. So this is before DVDs and everything. But you could watch great films even then.
And was it like common in your peer group, like to engage with these films, or it was something which was very new, even for your family and your peers to see you indulge in these films?
It was new. When my father was a film buff. Well, not so much international cinema, but Indian cinema, yeah.
There was this one scene that left me with a question. So when Ken Singh meets RK, he wants to kill him, and but then RK comes in and immediately he looks at him, and then he gains control of Ken Singh. And the scene before that is where RK Singh says that I have that I'm a failure because I don't even have control over my own characters. And then immediately, I think this was the scene that comes up, and this is even before Ken Singh finds out that he is the creator, that RK is his creator.
Correct, correct. You're right, you're right. It's not that he's gained control over Yen Singh, but the fact is that he's unpredictable. That's
Yeah.
what Ranveer tells RK, अरे यार तुमने कभी सोचने का मौका ही कहाँ दिया? जब भी मैं कहता था, तो कहते थे नहीं unpredictable, make him unpredictable. So कुछ भी करेगा. That is what RK is playing on. That because he's unpredictable, that maybe he'll come along.
So what is it that diffuses him? Like he immediately loses his anger, and then he's
Because he's unpredictable.
oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
I
he could go either way. He could have killed RK. He could have killed RK in that part, or he just understood. Mrs. Chile.
आर के मूवी में जो प्रोड्यूसर था वो बीच बीच में काफी बोलता है कि यार डायलॉग थोड़े ज्यादा उर्दू में नहीं हो गए यार, ये हो गया यार, वो हो गया। तो ये थोड़ा किसी पाला पड़ा था ऐसे प्रोड्यूसर से या सब में ऐसे होता है?
No, no, it's a kind of it's fictional, obviously. But yeah, there are some producers who are not from the business, who come from like this guy's a builder. So he's probably making his first film. I'll tell you what is there from real life in this. I met a producer once who wanted to put 2.5 crore rupees in some film of mine. And when I met him, he was like, "Sir, आपके सामने मैं क्या बोलूँ, मेरी जुबान ही निकल रही है सर, मैं आपसे क्या, मैं घबराया हुआ हूँ सर." और वही आदमी मतलब 3 महीने बाद became somebody else. So yeah, that is taken from real life. बाकी सब ख्याली है.
अच्छा, और ये था कि जैसे कभी फंसे हो राइटिंग करते टाइम कि यार अभी इसके आगे कुछ मिल नहीं रहा?
That happens sometimes. इसके ऐसा नहीं होता कि इसके आगे कुछ नहीं मिल रहा. Because I set myself a deadline and I finish it. I finish that draft. And then sometimes you realize that it didn't work. Sometimes I do 2 or 3 drafts of that script and then I throw it away. So sometimes things don't come together. That is possible. And again, like I was telling earlier about RKRK, that the first draft I did in 2011 about the reflection that went missing. It had all the ideas correct, but the script didn't work. And then it kept lying till I picked it up again and tried a redraft and came out in this fashion. Things change, things transform, things take time, sometimes many years to come together. That's part of the process.
एस्पेंट राइटर जो है, जैसे मैं हूँ, मैं कुछ मेरे साथ कुछ होता है मैं थोड़ा लिख लेता हूँ, मैं मुझे कुछ दिखा, मैं एक्सपीरियंस किया, मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा मतलब अगर मैं 3 स्टोरी पे वर्क कर रहा हूँ तो मैं थोड़े इसमें लिखता हूँ, थोड़े इसमें लिखता हूँ, थोड़े इसमें लिखता हूँ, मतलब मैं अभी बस खुद करके सीख रहा हूँ। तो एक प्रोसेस क्यों हो सकता है? अच्छा, या फिर कोई आप टिप्स देना चाहते हो?
हाँ, बिल्कुल हो सकता है, ऐसा तरीका भी हो सकता है, और खुद करके लिखना ही, खुद करके लिख के सीखना ही बेस्ट है। बाकी किताब पढ़ के जो सीखेंगे वो गलत ही सीखेंगे आप, क्योंकि किताब तो अपना तरीका बताएगा जो कि विच इज अ गिवन, बट व्हेन यू राइट यू विल फाइंड योर ओन वे ऑफ डीलिंग विद थिंग्स, you will find your own way of creating a character, you'll find your own way of creating a scene, and that will become your individual signature. Why should you write like somebody else? You should write like you. You should create your own characters in the way you want them to go, you know, or the way they want to go. And, and the process you will figure out your own process as you go along. But the only thing is finish it. Even if you're writing 3 scripts, and even if it takes 3 years, but by the end of 3 years you finish all 3. आधे में छोड़ के मत भाग जाइए, पूरा खत्म कर लीजिए, फिर पढ़ के बोल दीजिए चलिए कचरा. But with that effort will help you in the next script. Next time you write, you would have gone through all the problems. That is important.
About like Gulabo, I felt like she was so perfectly casted because there was
No,
this moment, like the way that she portrayed that character, okay, that she's being a certain way on that set, and then she's pretending to be another way, like later on. Like, I absolutely love that dynamic that was there. So, like, you always sort of, what was like some other vision for Gulabo that you had, which helped you get to Malaika Sharawat to play the role?
No, we didn't know who's going to play it. I'd written it, and then we were casting, we were auditioning, met a lot of actors. Then somebody in my office, actually, like an office boy, he said, "Sir, Malika," मैंने कहा, "Malika क्यों करेगी यार? तो नहीं करना है इस picture." But we sent it to her anyway, and she said, "It's lovely, Rajat sir. I would really want." And she was fab. She was fab on film and on the set, and how supportive she was. She was very, very. And now she's a good friend. But really, really fantastic, real professional.
I get a best segue from your answer that you just gave, that जो किताबों से पढ़ रहे हैं वो कुछ stupid ही पढ़ रहे हैं, and that's not giving you anything that you want. My question comes here is, in Aankhon Dekhi, there's a whole sequence where the person fails maths exam, and the exam guy goes and talks to the maths teacher, and there's this whole sequence. Even I haven't loved maths all my life, and it's something that I despise with all integrity in me. I feel it's just created out of anything. And I have also seen that people who are finding themselves either love maths to the extent that they can go to, or they just despise it. Was that a choice that you wanted to put in, where you wanted to show that देखो मैथ्स जैसी चीज एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती है, तुम नंबर फेंक के कुछ भी बना दोगे शीट के ऊपर, इट्स नॉट गोना वर्क आउट? वाज दैट अ चॉइस, or you just put it out because the script needed it?
I love maths, but this is bauji. He's going to question everything. He's questioning the existence of God. He's questioning. Starts with the kalakand. वो बोलते प्रसाद है, बोलते नहीं कलाकंद है. You know, मीठा था, स्वादिष्ट था, बढ़िया था. But प्रसाद था कि नहीं वो मुझे नहीं पता है. मीठा था. That I can tell you because that I've experienced. So he would go to that extent of समानांतर रेखाएं इन्फिनिटी पे जाके कैसे मिल जाएंगी, क्योंकि उनमें तो समान अंतर है. They have the same distance. They are supposed to have the same distance forever. So Bauji is the one who can fight like that. Who can take it to the absurdist level.
Yeah, like infinity itself is like imaginary thing that you have created. So imaginary चीज को भी question.
मेरे तो समझ में नहीं आती infinity यार. Why don't? So the people who understand maths, or people who understand physics, they can understand. My mind boggles and I stop. It's beyond comprehension, you know. The solar system, Milky Way, universe, यूनिवर्स के आगे भी कुछ है क्या, कहाँ, और यूनिवर्स कहाँ है यूनिवर्स, नहीं पता.
That makes the two of us, sir. I don't think even I understand.
Yeah, so people who understand it, I really doff my hats at them, and they must be real bright people. Bauji came from that somewhere in me, because I don't understand. There are different kinds of mind. I don't understand abstraction, and these are abstract ideas. I don't understand them. I understand something when I do it. If you tell me, मुझे सालों तक पता नहीं था कि लौंग क्या होता है और जीरा क्या होता है और सौंफ क्या होता है. But when you start cooking, then you know. नहीं तो सब एक ही है. So by doing, that's what I'm talking about writing also. When you do it and you do it again and do it again, that's how you learn it. There's not a way of learning anything or knowing anything. Forget learning. Which is what Bauji's attempt is, that I will know only through experience.
What do you love watching in general? Like there's this entire space of cinema right now. What are certain filmmakers? Maybe just one film if you could name.
Now less and less, yeah. I don't watch many things. I really watch very few films. Maybe I watch 5-6 films in a year, and out of them, I think 4 or 5 are very disappointing. Maybe I would like one, or I would just about tolerate one. But it's really hard, yeah. I like quote very much in the last 10 years, I would say. I liked Ibaleu, Gangs of Wasseypur, second part, I like very much. So then this is the thing, and I keep giving this example to people and journalists who say that cinema is changing, I'm like, fuck off, nothing is changing. If in the last 10 years, you're trying to think which are the good films in the last 10 years, and 3 films come to your mind, then that's a pathetic state of being. For a country that makes 1,500 films every year, 10 years has 15,000 films. Out of 15,000 films, you're saying, चार पांच अच्छी थी, और चार पांच okay, they were not bad. That's it.
I'm pretty sure that we'll also count RK in that, because you know, as soon as I finished watching the movie, I was like, I did not expect that sort of a exercise. That and I also love what you said earlier, that it should not be explained. Like, go and figure it out and go and ponder over it, maybe, and just think about it.
Or
Yeah,
even not understand.
yeah.
No, I mean, it's okay to not understand things, but an image should not be understood. An
Hmm.
image should also be felt,
Yeah.
experienced, उसको अंडरस्टैंड करके मुझे लगता है वो रिडक्टिव हो जाती है बात, और सब कुछ आपने उसको खोल दिया तो क्या, फिर खोल दिया तो कुछ रह नहीं गया उसमें, है ना? An image is powerful because there is something unexplained in it.
So two questions from my side. One is regarding writing. You have covered a lot regarding writing, but the one thing which I really struggle with is like when I have kind of scenes ready, but I'm difficult to attach them with like a thread. So I just wanted to understand how is your process of attaching a series of scenes? Is it theme? Is it character driven?
Here, okay. It can be character driven. It can be story driven. Uh, it can be image driven, starting with an image and to see where it goes. Uh, but for me, mostly it is an idea, and then you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how that idea. I'll tell you an example. In 2003, I had an idea about a man who said, "I will only believe what I experience." Okay, this is what became Aankhon Dekhi eventually. But this idea I had in 2003.
Okay.
Didn't know what to do with this idea. So it kept playing in my head for 8 years. So I would think about it. I would sometimes get a scene of sorts, sometimes get an image. So I saw this guy crying listening to classical music, which
Okay.
became Gulabo. But I thought that is also an experience, so that, but like that, it was that vague. I didn't know what to do with this idea. Then in 2011, I thought of a joint family. And I wrote it in 15 days after.
Okay.
I thought of joint family, then I got bauji, I got the brother who wants to leave, the beti who's to get married. And in the middle of all this man who says, I will only accept what I experience. So,
Gotcha.
so when people ask me, how long did it take you to write Aankhon Dekhi, I normally say 8 years and 15 days. So for 8 years, that idea didn't leave me and I didn't leave that idea.
Okay.
But the actual writing was very good.
Got it, sir. Got it.
So
I understand. I somehow got
the idea needs to find a spine, which is usually a story, for me at least, or
okay.
a character.
Okay. Okay. And so, one question. How did the Sharma scene came to you? I mean, when he keeps on speaking, he keeps on speaking.
It happened to my cousin, when I was 14, 15.
Okay.
It happened to one of
Okay.
my cousins. So it has stayed with me since then. It actually happened. We couldn't stop for I think a few weeks. Yeah, but what was of interest to me is not that he was in that state, but the fact that in the family, in the joint family, this was also accepted. That's the great sense of community that a joint family has. And that's the impact he has had on me. Everything and everybody is accepted. So first time people are shocked, but after the next time you see them, oh, घिया के कोफ्ते बन रहे हैं, सब्जी कट रही है, and he's also part of that.
Yeah. It
Nothing
gets
like,
adapted easily.
yeah, he's completely accepted. He's not कि इसको हॉस्पिटल भेज देते हैं, कहीं भेज देते हैं, ये है, ऐसा है, अभी ऐसा है, you know that.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
When Mehboob Khan has, kind of, कि अब तो मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, even though you have written a different ending, अब मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, and then RK asks, क्यों नहीं जाओगे? And then he says, मैंने खाने के ऑर्डर बहुत ले लिए. That one scene made me realize that how human he's becoming. कि I mean, that was so nice कि उसको कुछ नहीं समझ में आया. He was not talking Urdu कि मेरा मुस्तकबिल मैं लिखूंगा, ऐसा करूंगा, वैसा करूंगा, आप ये नहीं कर सकते, आप वो नहीं कर सकते. For the first time, he was in a humorous tone and he said, नहीं मैंने खाने के बहुत ऑर्डर ले लिए, तो मैं उस पर ज्यादा फोकस करूंगा. So एक वो भी था मेरा अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट the two major factors of Mehboob Khan, I think, staying there was food and the family.
And he also realized by this time that he realized the falsity of that world. Because in the scene he says कि वहाँ सब कुछ झूठा था. खाना मैं वहाँ भी बनाता था लेकिन ना तो उसमें जायका था, ना स्वाद, ना रंग. सच यहाँ है.
सच यहाँ. एंड ऑल्सो आई थिंक शायद गुलाबो के लिए जो भी अफेक्शन था वो भी उसको लगा कि शायद मेरा वाला फॉल्स था या फिर उसके तरफ से भी फॉल्स था. एंड व्हाट आई एम गेटिंग विद दिस फैमिली,
इसको तो आपकी कलम में लिखा था.
एग्जैक्टली. सो आई थिंक वो मुझे फ्लक्चुएशन पॉइंट लगा महबूब खान का कि जहां पे वो बोलता है कि नहीं मैंने तो बहुत ऑर्डर ले लिए हैं and I'm going to cook food. And that was
by this time his costume has also changed. He's not wearing the tie anymore. He's not wearing the jacket anymore. He's started wearing RKay shirts by now. And soon after this, he will also shave off his mustache.
Shave off his, definitely.
He's becoming more and more RKay, more and more real world in that sense.
He's more suited in that house as compared to the real RKay. Yeah.
How do you kind of balance the reality versus delusion that RKay versus RKay had? So a lot of us struggle in having fate versus what our destiny is, or versus everything which is in our own hands. What have you taken away from the movie when you make decisions, or you look at your life in a certain way? Is it fated, or is it something that is in your hands? Is the character me, or should I keep it separate from myself?
This is exactly what the film is about. It's about free will versus destiny. For me, it's a mix of the two. I do believe that your destiny plays a big part, big part. Very simply, in the sense of you're born in a certain place, you didn't have anything to do with it, to a certain class of parents, a certain social standing. You have certain genetic makeup, which you didn't choose. So all this is given. And yet what you make of it is in your hands. And I believe very strongly, maybe stupidly, that every breath you take, every step you take, you're choosing your destiny. With every step. I really, really, very strongly believe that. That if you ask this question, it'll change me forever and will change you forever. I really believe. Though I can't say in what way, and that we will never know. And we would never know that if we didn't ask this question, what would have happened. But my belief is that it changes something.
Definitely. I think it's always a nice balance that we are all trying to figure out, whether to live in a delusion or just to be practical and live in reality. But this is something great that we all need to figure out, and we can only understand it looking backwards and never.
Because if we don't believe in free will, then we are truly lost. And if we don't believe in destiny, then we are too arrogant. There has to be a balance.
I'm an actor, and my question is actually around the casting process when you write. Because when you write, I see that unlike all your films, this time in RKay versus RKay, you have the story revolves around the characters that you play.
I know.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't like to do that. But this one, I was pretty certain that whenever I make it, it has to be with me. Because I think it works better for the confusion of RKay and Rajat and Mehboob. Like I said, in the end, who really made this film? This was important that I play this part.
Yeah. So I was just curious, when you write your films, how do you do the casting? Like once you've written the film, then
Normally auditions. Sometimes I think the only film I wrote with a actor in mind was Aankhon Dekhi, because I'd just done Obama with Sanjay Mishra, and soon after that I started writing it, and his face with the white beard and white hair kept coming to me. And as soon as I finished writing it, I sent him the script and said, whenever I make it, it'll be with you. But everybody else, every other film has been through auditions.
So my question is actually about, like you have said many times, like purpose of art, like the way you make your art is like to find yourself, like find the question of who am I. So in terms of that, like in RKRK also, this character, I think what I understand is like he chooses art over his life, like what's his life with his wife, and he chooses art for that. You see, like Kagas Ke Phool also, he chooses like he died on that. Like in Pyasa, he chooses life instead of art, and he left that. So could you please talk about that? Like how you think about that? What's the purpose of art, and like how you think about it, like in context of RKRK also?
I don't want to put artists on a pedestal, or to pretend that they're doing some great service to the world. I think we do what we do because push from within to do it, and the push is very strong. I think it's a kind of a sickness. Nobody is forcing me to make films or films of this kind, which will never find an audience or money. Nobody is forcing me to do theater, and yet I keep going through this process. And there are times when I wonder, okay, yaar, why do you want to? Why do you want to, in a way, go through the humiliation of looking for money again and so on? But it's not something I can stop. It's not in my hands. I can't say, nahi, mujhe nahi banna picture. It's not possible. Because it's like I said, it's a sickness. It keeps pushing you. You're a little mad. And I think you have to be a little mad at least to make films. Maybe even to write a novel or paint, or I don't know about that. But definitely to make a film, you have to be a little mad in the sense of you're driven to an extent that things are not going to stop you. And I believe that of all filmmakers. Doesn't even matter if you're making a bad film or a good film. If you're making a film, you're extremely driven. Then you can be a Ram Gopal Verma or a Bansali or Satyajit Ray. But if you're doing it year after year, film after film, then you're a sick person. Something is pushing you to do it.